Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing. Sometimes I'm rising, yes, sir. Then again I'm falling. Let Jesus work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Please, your Father would work it out. Oh, let God work it out. Oh, work it out. You work it out for Mother Lisa. Sometimes I'm gaining, then again I'm losing.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And today is a special stream. Today is one that I will always remember. And you say, Patrick, why is today such a special day? Well, if you guys looked at the thumbnail, you'll know that today is the launch of my new book, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist, born out of my doctoral dissertation. Took years to put together through all the research, the writing, the editing, and then, of course, going through the academy and doing all that stuff. And just so happened that the day correlates with my 36th birthday. Now, not much is too interesting about a 36th birthday, but shout out to everybody who's had their 36th birthday. I know somebody in the chat said they just had theirs. Let me see if I can find their name. Who was that? Anyways, it's not showing up, but God bless you, brother, whoever it was. You just had your 36th. But today is the culmination of years and years of work for me. This is going to be very memorable for me. And so today we're just going to hang out, and I was going to kind of show you guys kind of the inside contents, the scoop, the backstage insights in regards to the bookmaking process and me getting this published, and just kind of hang out with you guys for a couple hours. It's not too scripted today. We don't have a thesis. We're not going to be deep diving into any particular topic. I really just wanted to come on here and just kind of reflect with you guys, because for me, at least, this is a big milestone for what I envision as my career, my life, the things that I've been trying to build. And as you guys know, I decided not to pursue the traditional, university route that people go through when they try to get their PhD, which is becoming more and more common, actually, that people are trying to figure out a way in which to monetize off some type of academic skill set outside of the university, because the universities are so corrupted. And so I remember very vividly living in California and deciding I was going to create a YouTube channel called Church of the Eternal Logos. And I was going to try to build a platform that had 0 subscribers so that when I finished my PhD, I could have my own digital platform and classroom, and I wouldn't be beholden to any university. And so basically, that's what I've been doing ever since. So during my coursework, during the last semester, my coursework is really when I put this YouTube channel together, and it was when I began visiting Orthodox churches. And you guys know the story. Basically, did a course on Eastern Orthodox philosophy, theology, history, and from there became essentially convinced that orthodoxy was the case. And that worked on me slowly, and months go by, and eventually moved from like a Protestant Christianity that thinks Orthodox theology is really cool to, yeah, I need to join the Orthodox Church. And then that officially started when I took my life savings at the time and moved out of Berkeley and moved back to Indiana, and began doing this YouTube channel that took basically 9 months to make any money from, because the first videos I was making would maybe get 40 views, 70 views. Of course, I had another YouTube channel promoting psychedelics at the time. But this was one for me trying to explain why I'm Orthodox and why I have the worldview I have. So for me, at least regarding this journey, Church of the Eternal Logos is the platform. This year, from being 35 to 36, I've gotten married. My wife just received her green card. This was actually September 11th. So good things can happen on 9/11. 9/11 2025, just a couple weeks ago, we had to do an interview with immigration, and we passed. And so she now has her green card. She's a permanent resident of the U.S. We've applied for housing. We're still trying to hear back how, you guys know what the market's like. So trying to start my life with my family. I finished my PhD this year. I defended that in May of 2025. And so this last year, I think was a huge year, and it's sort of a transitional year for me, moving into a new stage of my life. And part of that was wanting to publish something. So I do have some things published. Sadly, one work that I've deleted, so it's no longer exists, but somebody has cited it on academia.edu and stuff, was a master's paper I wrote talking about shamanistic archetypes, Gnosticism, and Jesus during my master's degree. This is before I was Orthodox. I cringe at even thinking about it. But that was basically the only thing that I've ever truly published. And instead of going to the conferences, I was asked to submit papers to various conferences during, there's a couple papers I wrote that professors recommended that I go to a conference. But at that point, I basically decided I'm not going to do the traditional university route. I want to be my own man. I want to be an academic and an intellectual that basically just builds his own thing and isn't dependent upon anybody or anyone. Obviously, I'm dependent upon the social media platforms. Wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without those. But outside of that, and TOS being my boss, I'm fairly free. And so I was just reflecting yesterday, today being my birthday, how fortunate I am, how grateful I am to God for my journey. My God, you can look up videos from 4 years ago where I'm complaining about trying to find a wife. Now I have my wife. Now we're married. Now we're starting our life. And I just finished the PhD, and I just began to publish my first book. So I'm so freaking excited to have this thing live and available for you guys. You've heard me be talking about it for the last 4 months. And so, shout out to Patristic Faith. Hey, I caught some of your interview earlier, brother. That was great. That was fantastic, man. Thank you very much for the birthday wish. God bless you, brother. Really appreciate your friendship. Father Deacon Dr. Ananias. We've been friends at least online for a while. I think basically the first year, once I began live streaming on YouTube, we became friends, and then I've been fortunate enough to spend time with him and his wife. In Montana, in California. We had a great time in California. And so appreciate you, brother. And this one of the things that I found myself doing more this year for my birthday is telling people how much I appreciate them. Like today, I have two old friends that live about an hour away from me, and them and their wives are going to drive down, and we're going to go get pizza and beer tonight. So that's how we're going to celebrate. They're wanting to go to a restaurant. You know, do we want to do Italian or a nice restaurant? And I was like, let's just go and eat some good pizza and drink beer. That's what sounds good to me. So, oh yeah, and I'll see you in Florida as well, man. I'm excited for the Athens and Jerusalem conference. If you guys haven't got tickets or seen the new trailer that Dyer just put out, it's a fantastic trailer, and it goes over this sort of philosophical conference that we're going to be doing with Metropolitan Jonah, Jay Dyer, FDA, Father Vladimir, and myself. And so FDA, I need to call you. Actually, I got to see what it is that you're going to be speaking about, so we don't talk about the same thing, so I can begin to craft my speech for the conference. So anyways, I also just want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes. Thank you guys so much and your generosity. Aaron Sapita throws in 5. Thank you so much, Aaron. God bless you, brother. And he says, Christ in our midst, truly is in our midst. Truly. So thank you so much, Aaron, for the support. God bless you. Victor throws in $2, says, just placed my order, DPH. Also, Father Moses soon. Yeah, I can reach out to Father Moses. I'd love to chat with him. I know he's been super busy. Him and Father Turbo are so freaking busy that it's, it's kind of hard to, it's like getting Jonathan Paggio on your stream. Their schedules are so busy, especially with Father Turbo and Father Moses running a parish and all. So one thing that I got to do is first show you guys that the book is live, that you can now get your copy of Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist. Let me pull this up for you guys. So if you would like to support my work or celebrate my birthday today, I ask that you go purchase my book. Amazon KDP takes forever to freaking update. So like my author profile is still, I emailed them today. It takes like 48 hours for things to update. But the book is now available. It's available in Kindle ebook. It's available in paperback. It's available in hardback. I want to show you guys a little bit of it. I've showed you before, but now that it's finalized, I was just going to pull up the PDF version of the book that's formatted here, the 6x9. It's 428 pages, so it's a bit of a thick boy. It is for the reader. There's no pictures in here. It's not a picture book, but it's taken me. Let's see. So my PhD program. Somebody asked, how long did it take? Well, depends on where you begin the start marker. Here, let me share this link with everybody in the chat first. So here's the link, guys. Also, if you want signed copies, so anybody who wants signed copies of the book, you can do so through this link right here over at my website. So these are a little bit more expensive. They're only hardback. So if you get a signed copy, I made it so basically I've only stocked up on hardbacks, and they're going to be here this weekend. So I got 35 copies coming from Amazon. And if you want a signed copy, and the hardbacks are actually very quality. So I made sure to make it a bit of because it's self-published, I don't want it to look like a self-published book. So I spent so much time on the formatting. I kept academic citations, Turabian citations, what you would use in the humanities, or at least in religious studies, what you use. I put together something that is incredibly important to me that so many self-published books don't do, is a topic index, right? Anybody who does research knows how important a topic index is. Because when you're doing research, say you have a research project and you're at a university, the way you start the project is by gathering the literature. And so one of the things you do is you find books related to your topic. And then for me, first thing I do is I open it, I go to the table of contents, and then I flip directly to the index, and I start doing word searches for words associated with the thing that I'm researching. Then I mark those pages. If it's a quality book that has multiple pages marked, okay, we're checking that book out, or we're buying that book, or we're keeping that book. That's going to be a great resource. So for me as an academic, you cannot have a book without a table index, subject index, table index, topic index. And so I got one that's got, I forget how many, it's like over 200, almost 300 inputs or something like that. And then I got all my citations and stuff in the back of the book from the various sources that I use. So I only have proof copies in my personal possession right now. So I've purchased, like I said, 35 copies of my hardback. Paperback looks good too. So there's nothing wrong with the paperback. The paperback, the idea of the paperback is to save money, right? So the paperback is a cheaper book, but the hardback is the quality. If it's something you want to keep, which I hope most people do, this is the hardback. And so you can go to my website with this link, as I just mentioned, purchase a book. It's a flat fee. So I was trying to figure out how you get shipping handled through like WooCommerce and stuff, through WordPress plugins, and it was just a kind of a mess. So I've just made it a flat fee at $60, and then I will take care of all the shipping. Unless it's international and it's really high, then I'll have to reach out to you, and maybe we'll have to make some type of compromise. But look, basically all domestic shipping, I'll be able to cover. So this is, if you'd like a hardback version signed, and there's a comment section that you can leave at the end once you purchase. Let me know if there's a particular note or a particular message you would like me to write in the book for you. I'd be happy to do that. So anyways, yeah, that is the option through my website. And we've already had, I've been, again, just stunned. One of the things that I've been so appreciative of is just people for my birthday this year. I was just appreciative of my friends, my wife. And just, I've only posted on Instagram and X, and to see how many people have already purchased signed copies through my website, just really, really warms my heart. Just makes me just so appreciative of you guys, like just appreciative of people, appreciative of the work to all the streams, making content to try to basically earn your guys' trust, right? That's what I've tried to do. I've said that before in previous streams, that for me, the whole point of what I'm trying to do, people have said, dude, you put out way too much information for free. And yeah, that was probably true. It probably wasn't the wisest business decision. But I've been making these live streams for 5 years, and my argument is that if you enjoy this content, I hope what you've seen is that I put a lot of work into trying to do research and do deep dives in a wide variety of topics from an Orthodox perspective. And from there, I hope to build like some type of personal trust. Maybe we've never met each other. We don't know each other personally, but if you trust that I've put due diligence into put out quality products, whether it be the Logos Academy, whether it be my live streams, or whether it be this book, that I hope that if you get it, you'll like it. What is the book about? Well, let's get into that. Let's a great question, Examine Truth. Sorry, I'm rambling about all types of different stuff. Here, well, I'll just read to you guys. This is what I have on the back of the book here. I'll read it to you, and then I was gonna pull up the PDF. We can actually go through it and chit chat about it. Mud throws in a generous $20. Thank you so much, Mud. He says, I'm never going to read your dumb book. It's probably ugly, but here's some money because you're so old and decrepit for the retirement home. Okay, I feel better now that I verbally denigrated it. Thank you, Mud. So I appreciate the support, brother, and I appreciate the humor. Of course, you can always do old man jokes. I mean, I'm kind of at that age now. I'm getting 36. A married 36-year-old man. I guess I am on the chopping block for old man jokes, I suppose. So thank you, Mud, for that. Really appreciate your support, brother. And Stefan throws in 15 over on Dono Chat. Thank you so much, Stefan. He says, happy birthday and congrats on the book release, Dr. DPH. Thank you so much. When do you think we'll be able to download your books directly to our brains? Just kidding. Enjoy, brother. Well, if Neuralink has its way, probably within the next year or two. So thank you, Stefan, so much, brother, for that. Really appreciate the support. Let me tell you guys what the book's about. I've talked about it in previous streams, but I've done kind of a piss poor job of just doing a stream going over the book. And I really wanted to wait until it was available. So what is the book about? Well, here's my little salesy abstract that I put on the back of it. So it reads, in an era defined by technological ambition and spiritual questioning, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist presents a rigorous study at the intersection of intellectual history and religious studies. David Patrick Carey, PhD, offers a critical examination of modern transhumanism through the lens of Eastern Orthodox theology, revealing how attempts at technological self-deification draw upon deep historical and metaphysical currents within Christian thought. The book contrasts these developments with a pre-modern Christian vision of theosis, a transformative participation in divine life through union with the Logos, Jesus Christ. Western civilization now faces two competing post-secular narratives: the rationalist technological ambitions of transhumanism and the mystical grace-centered theology of Orthodox Christianity. Harry traces these paths through their philosophical, theological, and historical foundations. He analyzes transhumanism's functionalist anthropology, materialist epistemology, and post-genderist ethics alongside the Orthodox understanding of embodied human divinization. Orthodox thought perceives transhumanism not only as a modern Tower of Babel, but also as a potential stage set for Antichrist, attempting to supplant divine grace with technological apotheosis. This book examines the eschatological imagination of transhumanist thought, from the pursuit of the singularity to the conception of an AI God. These ambitions are framed as a profound challenge to spiritual and moral order. By juxtaposing this vision with Orthodox theosis, Return to Babylon demonstrates how Christian anthropology offers a counter-narrative that safeguards personhood, free will, and communion with the divine. This work advances contemporary debates in theology, philosophy, and intellectual history. It illuminates the tension between human ingenuity and spiritual transcendence and shows how transhumanist presuppositions are rooted in centuries of Christian thought. Scholars, theologians, and reflective readers are challenged to confront a pressing question: can humanity achieve true deification through technology, or is divine grace the only path to authentic transformation? So that is what the book is about. That's my little salesy pitch. Now I'll tell you guys more directly kind of what's in store if you're to get it. So let me just pull up my PDF, actually. Let's just go through the PDF and I'll show you guys. Let me pull one up. So thank you very much. Thank you again to everybody wishing me happy birthday. Thank you guys very, very much. I do. Yeah, exactly. Examine truth. Theosis over Neuralink. That is a central premise. And so the book, what it's doing is taking transhumanism and steel manning it. So I spent months and months basically reading all the transhumanist literature by the people who support it, right? And trying to be basically steelman their argument and present transhumanism as a modern form of religion. And transhumanism doesn't typically fit that category, right? So transhumanism doesn't fit if you're looking at like Ninian Smart 7 dimensions of religion. Yeah, it doesn't really fit these sort of traditional religious studies frameworks for defining what religion is. And therefore, I use a theory called the post-secular moment. And this is tied with Jürgen Habermas and Charles Taylor, where they argue essentially that we are in a post-secular moment, that really within the 21st century, secular ideologies can now function as religions. Because one of these breakdowns is, as we've talked about before, postmodernism, the postmodern turn in the 1950s had to do with looking at worldviews and how we can substantiate our beliefs. And since postmodernism says there is no more metaphysics, there is no ultimate forms of knowledge, there are no universal narratives of truth. It's just a subjective existential pursuit towards, meaning that you create. That's why you can, I can chop my wiener off and claim I'm a woman. And that's really part of Judith Butler's sort of post-genderist critique to human embodiment. Anyways, within this post-secular moment, communism, democracy. How much do we hear about democracy being here in America? That is a form of a post-secular religious narrative. And so because of this breakdown, the post-secular moment argues that, look, maybe people identify as an atheist or a furry or a transhumanist. And then if we ask them, are you religious? They'd say, no, of course I'm not religious. But if we look at their worldview and we look at how they live, they have a totalizing, meaning making, often a mythological framework about history, themselves, and the world, and the ultimate pursuit of history and meaning, personal meaning. And so from a post-secularist perspective, I really don't have to do this hard work as a religious studies scholar to define transhumanism as a religion based on all these, more traditional definitions like sacred text and ritual and communal experience, all these different things, culture. Some of these obviously fit with transhumanism, but in the post-secular moment, all I have to do is demonstrate how this is its own mythology, how this is the totalizing framework for their epistemology, their metaphysics, their ethics, and how this is the narrative that fulfills this meaning-making process. And therefore, from that perspective, I can say transhumanism as a secular technological ideology is actually on the same level as Eastern Orthodox Christianity, because those who abide by this, whether they're Mormon or Christian or Buddhist or whatever, they're allowing the paradigm and the worldview of transhumanism to subsume whatever it is and reconstruct it within the presuppositions of its worldview. And therefore, it is a totalizing religious narrative, whether it's explicitly religious or not. Now, in the work, I go through a great depth to demonstrate people who actually believe that it is religious, right? So this is the PDF of the hardback version. You can see there with my ISBN number and my own publisher, Logos Academic Press. I created that in conjunction with the Logos Academy, which is our digital educational academy for philosophy, theology, masculinity. It's our men's only academy, essentially. And so I dedicated it to the earnest seekers of truth. May this work illuminate your path and honor the grace that guides it. Because for me, this book is, it's not a popular reader per se. It's not something that I think is going to go viral. It's not something that some 16-year-old, unless they're very intelligent, will be able to read. It is an academic work, but there's no other work like this. There's no other work. There are articles, because I cite them. Even Father Peter Heers actually wrote an article on an orthodox critique of transhumanism. I cite this in my paper, but there had been no in-depth. The methodology I'm using here is intellectual history. So intellectual history, arguing that there are foundational concepts that you can track through history itself and see how they evolve and work into different historical contexts and cultures. And so what I do, and I'll move down here to the table of contents. What I do is chapter 1 is essentially me grabbing this idea that technology was going to be tied with the erection of a millenarian utopia, right? So transhumanism, if you ever learned about the singularity or dove into the singularity, you'll know that they believe that they're going to enter in this sort of utopian state of existence made possible by technological advance. Well, that concept is actually old. And even to my surprise, when I began the project, it's actually a Christian idea. And so what I do in chapter 1 here is let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. It's easier to read. Here we go. Maybe right there. So this techno-millenarianism, the return to Eden, what I did was track down these ideas and find that John Scotus Erigena, who actually did a sponsored stream on his divisions on nature, he has a it's called the Paraphysion. It's one of his most important books. He's an Irish Neoplatonist that becomes the court philosopher of the Carolingian Empire. So we're talking mid-800s here, okay? And he was one of the only people at that time in the Carolingian Empire that could translate into Greek, that read St. Maximus the Confessor, was aware of all these different things. And so he basically adopted aspects of theosis, aspects of the Eastern mystical theology, incorporated this into a sort of bastardized Neoplatonic Latin worldview. However, what he did, which is so monumental, and I highlight here regarding medieval, the mechanical Imago Dei, is that he is the first person I could find in history to associate technological human ingenuity with a return back to the Garden of Eden, essentially the construction of the New Jerusalem. Now, why is that important? Because that idea that technology is a grace-filled gift from God, he believed redeemed all the attributes that Adam lost after the fall. This is why I titled the book Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist. Because what I found, and this is all chapter 1 here, basically, what I found is that this transhumanism emerges from this Christian, essentially a heretical concept that technology would lead to a millenarian utopian kingdom, and that kingdom would restore like perfect knowledge, immortal existence, these things that they believed Adam had before the fall. So they believed everything, and I use this phrase over, everything that was lost during the fall would be redeemed through technology. This was this founding presupposition. And so John Scotus Erigena puts this forth, and this influences people like Hugh of St. Victor and Roger Bacon. Now, once we get into the 1100s, and I've mentioned this man before, there's Joachim of Fiore, this monk who believes that on the day of Pentecost, that the Holy Spirit indwelled him with wisdom of this dispensationalist 3 ages. There's the age of the Father, which is basically from Adam to Christ. Then you have the age of the Son, which is Christ, up to, of course, the time that he lived. He believed it was like the 1200s. So like the 13th century was moving into what he called the New Age. For him, it was the age of the Holy Spirit. And so the age of the Spirit was an age that for Joachim of Fiore, who, again, he consulted popes at this time. This wasn't like a nobody. This was a somebody. Now, he was obviously condemned also for his belief, but he believed that this third age of the Holy Spirit was the age of spiritual men, and that in the age of spiritual men, the sacraments, the authority of the church, these things didn't matter anymore. You essentially, the Spirit indwelled into righteous men in their heart. It's very Protestant. So you can already see proto-Protestantism here. And in fact, as I highlight in the book, many of the reformers drew inspiration from Joachim of Fiore, claiming that they themselves were the men of the third age and that they themselves were going to build the New Jerusalem. And so as I highlight in this chapter 1, I move basically from antiquity, differentiating the epistemological frameworks between like mechanical arts and philosophical arts, and how philosophy was abstract, philosophy was universal. So for Aristotle and Plato, philosophy, that type of knowledge is up here, but technical mechanical knowledge was down here, because essentially a slave could know how to do that. A slave could be a blacksmith. A slave could know how to, create great swords or something like that. They didn't have to know the philosophy of what a sword represented. They didn't have to understand the depth of virtue for Aristotle or something. They could just do these mechanical or these manual labors and create mechanical products. And it isn't until we see this movement into the 9th century, again, people believe because the Carolingian Renaissance had their own era where the mills and plows and stuff were innovated in the 900s or the 9th century, the 800s, that they had their own sort of Renaissance. And so I demonstrate that there's a Psalter during this period. It's the first Psalter, so it's depicting Psalms. It's a visual depiction. And it highlights that the Christians were using a method for fashioning swords that was a step beyond the historical methods. And it showed that the enemies of God were still using these antiquated methods, where the Christians were using these new novel methods that made better swords. And it depicted God with a compass and square. So from here, I'm tracing this idea and tying. So after Joachim of Fiore, this idea that technology restored us back to pre-lapsarian, pre-Edenic fallen Adam gets influenced by this millenarian Joachim of Fiore spirit. And so then you have somebody like Francis Bacon or the Rosicrucians or John Dee, all these people adopting different pieces of this and going about it in different ways. And so Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, he was utilitarian. This is what we call Baconian reforms in science. It's a utilitarian. It's the understanding that our epistemology is moving from a scholastic perspective into the Baconian perspective, that knowledge is about its utility. It's not about its virtue, and that it's actually virtuous to have knowledge that actually does things in the world. This is what Francis Bacon put forth. And so he wrote a novel called The New Atlantis, which is all about the sort of Christian brotherhood where there's no race and class, and everybody performs some type of technological art, and they're able to do all these different things. So this idea becomes the foundation for what modern science, the Royal Society, and the craft of the engineer was all about, is that they believed that they were going to construct utopia. So once you get past the Enlightenment, once you get into the scientific revolution and into the Enlightenment, now this idea takes on secular overtones, but still technology taking us to a sort of perfected state, a state in which we're immortal, a state in which we don't experience death, the consequences of the fall, and a state in which there's a global utopia persisted. And I document how that idea really was entrenched in many of the people that came to America, many of the engineers. And so America, being the city on the hill, we've done streams on Puritanism and all this different stuff, looking at how they viewed America. Well, that idea of America being the endpoint of history gets connected with this idea that technology and progress is going to move us towards utopia. And I argue that essentially once we ran out of land, meaning the actual continental United States in the, by the mid 20th century, now the frontier is technology. And Silicon Valley then has been leading this endeavor. And of course, look at their rhetoric. It's about creating utopia. It's about perfecting man. It's about eliminating suffering. And so it's interesting to find that the sentiments of modern transhumanism and the sentiments of most people in Silicon Valley are reminiscent of a sort of heretical strand that divinized technological advance within Christianity all the way from the medieval period into the present age. And so when you find groups like the Christian Transhumanist Association in Nashville, Tennessee, led by Micah Redding, you'll find that, oh, wow, go read their blogs. They are actually identifying as part of this tradition and saying, look how Christian we are. John Scotus Regina, Francis Bacon believed that we're going to use science and technology to save ourselves, essentially. And so that is what I lay out in chapter 1. Chapter 2 gets into transhuman, but anyways, I'll see if anybody has any questions about chapter 1 there. That was a lot. That was a lot to put on you guys. Max throws in $2, says, when we hang out again, I'm going to call you Unc. Thanks, Max. Appreciate that, brother. Fair enough. But you have to call Andrew Grandpa if you do that. So, Max, you can call me Unc, but Andrew Wilson has to be referred to as Grandpa. Kid. Glitchy Rhythm throws in 5, says, happy birthday. May your beard grow ever longer. Well, thank you, brother. I do trim it regularly, so I don't know how much longer it's going to get than this. This is what the wife likes. If I was clergy, maybe it'd be a little bit different, but I'm laity, so I don't need to have the homeless beard look or the Athonite monastic aesthetic. But thank you so much, Glitchy Rhythm, for the support, brother. Really appreciate that. Ridian Edwards throws in 10, says, hey, DPH, going to pick up your book when I've gotten through the rest of my reading list. P.S. Look forward to the next think tank. Was a bit tired for the last one. Also, happy birthday. Well, thank you, brother. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a great conversation. So Ridian is one of our brothers in the Logos Academy. We just had a private conversation. We actually read Arthur Schopenhauer's controversial work on women. Of course, he was non-Christian, but he was a German idealist. And so we read that, and then we read stuff by St. John Chrysostom, and we basically had a 3-hour men's-only conversation on anything and everything you could talk about regarding women. So, Ridian, it was a great time. I understand he's on the other side of the Atlantic, so it was pretty late for him. But God bless you, brother. Really appreciate the support. Mr. Sand throws in 10, says, happy birthday, Patrick. I just bought your book and BLA's book, Runes. That's another shout out to BLA. Guys, did you know BLA's book, Runes, which is a book of poetry? It's #1 in its category, guys. Go support our brother BLA. It's #1 in its category. So shout out to BLA. That's awesome. And one of the things that I ask you guys, and I should have said this earlier, but I'm just going to be emphatic about it right now, is could you guys please leave a 5-star positive review on my book? So I was looking online to try to figure out how Amazon ranks books. And it's kind of like YouTube. It's all about engagement. And so leaving 5 stars in comments is the best way to get your book to be recommended by Amazon when people are reading similar topic things. So my book, I believe, is the ultimate conversation between Orthodox Christianity and transhumanism, essentially utilizing Eastern Orthodoxy as a critique to transhumanism concerning concepts of deification and how in our post-secular moment that these are now in direct competition to each other, because although they're similar in a pursuit for deification and even similar in the archetypes transhumanism steals from Christianity, they're actually in inversions of each other. And that's why, from the Orthodox perspective, transhumanism is a return to Babylon, and how this idea goes from Adam to Antichrist, right? The Adam that John Scotus, Regina, and Francis Bacon and all these people wanted to emulate and return to through technology. This, from an Orthodox perspective, is all leading towards a linear historical trajectory towards Antichrist. And so it demonstrates how, even though people, and you'd be surprised how many scholars, and I'm talking, these are academics that doesn't have a dog in the fight. They're not, anti-Orthodox or anti-transhuman, but they try to equate Orthodox theosis with transhumanism and say basically it's the same thing, totally nullifying the absolute differences between the paradigms. I mean, the energy essence distinction, eschatology, theology, anthropology, metaphysics, all these different things. And they say, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Transhumanism is basically a modern form of theosis. Well, yeah, it is, but they're inversions. They're not the same thing. It's a similar goal, opposite methodologies. Anyways, sorry, Mr. Sand. He said, I'm really excited to read them. Congratulations. I'll spread the good news about the book being released. Thank you so much, Mr. Sand. Really appreciate that, brother. Thank you for the support. And again, guys, if you could, please leave a comment and a review of the book. I promise you, it's very in depth. Like from the moment I knew that this was going to be my dissertation, it basically took me 2 years, because I had to read everything. Because when somebody asked earlier, how long did this take? And I said, well, from what point are you beginning to count? Are you counting like when I started the PhD program? Because for me, I had a totally different dissertation project. I was going to do one on psychedelics as a new religious movement and trace psychedelic spirituality, define it as a paradigm, and then trace it from the ancient period into the 21st century. But my committee, upon reading this paper that I put together, really liked what I had to say about transhumanism and thought that it'd be more culturally relevant, more kind of cutting edge. And so they asked me to put something together there. So obviously, naturally, compare it as a form of deification with theosis and demonstrate that the pre-modern paradigm of orthodoxy is actually in direct contrast with the modern paradigm of transhumanism. So I had to change my entire dissertation project after doing probably a year worth of prep for it, thinking that was what it was going to be. And so I had to basically restart a whole new reading list. And so that took me probably 2 years, like the first book I bought on transhumanism, to dive into this. So it's like a 2-year process. And I was really happy with the defense, because my committee actually said no corrections. I got a full pass. So typically when you go defend your PhD, normally there's some type of correction. They think maybe you mischaracterized something or did something wrong, or there's a section that's a little bit off, or they want you to do X, Y, Z. And I got a full pass. So I was super ecstatic about that. But yeah, those are the process. We can get more into, if you guys have questions, send them in, ask me. Like, what was it like what's the process to publish? What's the process to do research? Anything you guys want to know, ask me questions. That's what today's stream is for. It's basically just a Q&A. H. Brasi, been a COTEL crew member for 2 months, says, my order of the book, hard copy, will be in on Wednesday or Thursday. Also, add back on Exeter, brother. Same name. Oh, great. H. Brasi, thank you so much, brother, for the support and purchasing the book. I can't tell you guys how meaningful it is for you guys to buy my book, because it took so much effort. You'll see when you read it, like the depth of the footnotes. I don't know how many footnotes I have. We can count them real quick. Just scroll to the back of the page and see. But I really did my due diligence, and you'll see that in regards to the amount of reading and in-depth research I did. Sherry Berry just became a COTEL crew member. Thank you so much, Sherry Berry. God bless you. Jason Henley throws in $2, says, you had me at Baconian or Bacon Indian. Hey, I love my bacon as well. Thank you so much, Justin. God bless you, brother. Dr. David James Flood throws in 5, says, happy birthday, DPH, and congrats on the book release. We'll order if you make it available as a hard copy, as I like. It is a hard copy, brother. Yeah. So you can get hard, paper, or ebook through Amazon. And if you want signed copies, you can go through my website. And those are only, so if you get a signed copy, those are only hardbacks, because I just think the quality is so much nicer, and I like hardback. So all the website copies, if you go to my website, and I'll share that link with you guys again, if you go to my website and purchase, like I said, I bought 35 of them, and they don't come in until this weekend. So this weekend I'll sign all the books, and hopefully I'll get those shipped out the beginning of next week. But if you want a hardback signed, you can go through my website. If not, if you just want a hardback and you'll get it quicker just through Amazon, you can do so with this link right here. And so that will offer you hardback, paperback, like I said, Kindle ebook. So thank you, David James Flood. God bless you, brother. Truly appreciate the support. Austin DeTulio throws in 20. Thank you very much, brother. He says, happy birthday, DPH. Congratulations on your book. God bless you and the family. Well, thank you very much, Austin. God bless you as well. Truly appreciate all the support. Let me see over on Dono Chat. Okay. So I just had a little bit of a trailer cut as well for this. I got to use the restroom real quick. I'm about to explode. But I want to play you guys the new trailer for the book and get your guys' thoughts on it. I'll probably post it on YouTube tomorrow. But I just had my thumbnail guy, shout out to iPack Arts. He just put this together. So I was going to play it for you guys. I got to use the restroom real quick. I'm freaking dying. And so you guys can check out the new trailer for the book. Tell me if you think, is it engaging enough? You know, my problem is I get in too much detail when I do things. So that wasn't the most useful. So he cut some stuff from the actual trailer, but here's this. So I'm going to play it for you guys, and you guys can let me know what you think. I'm going to post this on YouTube and probably all the socials tomorrow. Isaiah V throws in 5, says, happy birthday, brother. Just bought the signed copy. Thank you so much, Isaiah. God bless you, man. And so I don't know how many people have purchased the signed copies yet, but if it's more than 35, guys, I'm going to have to order more. So it may be another week or two before I'm able to get them to you, just because of the logistics. So if you want them signed this weekend, like I said, I basically have 35. That's what I got right now, but I'll get more. I will get more. So anyways, check out this trailer real quick, and I'll be right back. What if the future of humanity isn't found in a merger with machines, but in a synergy with divine grace? Western civilization faces a profound choice. Will the future of our species and our concepts of divinity be redefined by the transhumanist pursuit for technological deification? Or will people be informed by the ancient, mystical, and time-tested path of Orthodox Christianity? My name is David Patrick Carey. I'm a PhD in religious studies, and this is my new book, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist. While modern transhumanism today tells us and promises us of a future utopian existence post-singularity, where you and I will transcend our biological limitations, being able to live forever in cyborg form, or upload our consciousness through AI and brain-computer interfaces. The pre-modern Orthodox doctrine of theosis offers a radically different vision. Human transformation can never be done through just technological means, but rather true transformation and true transfiguration into a follower of Christ means a personal and willful embodiment
of God's uncreated energies. These two visions are not just different, they're actually inversions of each other. Whereas Christians understand God the Word became flesh to redeem all humanity and unite divine nature with human nature, transhumanism attempts to revert the flesh back into data, back into digital code. Whereas Christians aim to become fully human in the eternal salvation of Jesus Christ by following him and emulating him, transhumanism, through rational and technological means, pursues a post-human immortality. It is for these reasons and many, many more that you can read why I delineate between the Orthodox Christian path of God-manhood to the transhumanist path of man-godhood. This is a pre-modern critique. And what I argue is that when you look at transhumanism's AI God, the singularity, or their post-human immortality, from an Orthodox Christian perspective, we can see the warning of a return back to Babylon, human ingenuity taking over submission to divine order, and how all of this is not only a recapitulation of humanity's fall, but it's moving us closer and closer to the kingdom of Antichrist. This work illuminates the questions and the choice our civilization must now face. Do we follow human ingenuity severed from grace, or is human flourishing fulfilled in divine participation? I argue that in the post-secular context, where secular ideologies now function as religions, with their own myths, their own totalizing worldview, eschatologies, and meaning-making processes, there is a competition, there is a battle for the hearts and minds of those in the West about what does the future of divinity and the future of the human species look like. This book is unique because no other work goes into the intellectual depth to place the pre-modern worldview of Orthodox Christianity and its doctrine of theosis in a conversation with modern transhumanism concerning concepts of deification. That's why this work is perfect for scholars, theologians, Christians, seekers, or anybody interested in the future of humanity, technology, and faith. Get your copies today. You can get paperback, hardback, or Kindle ebook versions on Amazon, or you can get author-signed copies, limited editions, through my website, davidpatrickharry.com. This is more than just a book. It's a journey through history, theology, and philosophy. So I invite you to explore it and hold this question in your mind. Will humanity seek deification through machines or through a mystical participation with divine grace? Return to Babylon, from Adam to Antichrist, is your guide to that answer.
So shout out to iPack Arts who put that together for me. I thought he did a fantastic job. What'd you guys think of that little trailer for the book? Looks like we got fire emojis. DPH is that guy. W trailer. Thank you, Banana Bread. Heidi likes it. Austin DeTulio likes it. David James Flood said this book looks epic. Well, thank you, man. I promise you, anybody who's ahead, anybody who likes history, anybody who likes ideas, philosophy, theology, anybody who's Orthodox Christian, I think will appreciate that. Now it does put a lot of responsibility on the owner, or the reader, because I don't just explain everything from the beginning. I mean, I assume somebody already has basically a graduate level information, but I promise you, if anybody who gets it and reads it will see the amount of work and due diligence in the research. One of the things I was really proud about is one of the professors that was on my committee. Actually, shout out to him right now. It was actually Dr. Jerry Brown, who wrote the Psychedelic Gospels, and I gotta give him thanks. One, he was on my committee, and one, obviously, the first dissertation was going to be on psychedelics, so he was a natural person to ask. But after changing it to transhumanism, and he had taught some classes on technology and concepts of transhumanism during when he was a professor. But I had my advisor, who is a New Religious Movements Western esoteric scholar. And then I had a philosopher. She was an Aristotelian. She's a Dominican Catholic. She works at the Dominican school. She's a Catholic, but she's a Aristotelian philosopher, and she does all her research is into like personhood, neuroscience, brain, concept of person, that type of stuff. So basically philosophy of mind type work. And so I had her, and then I had Dr. Brown, and Dr. Brown, who's not Orthodox, read it and thought it was an incredible, nuanced approach to a very large and encompassing topic. And so that was one of the big compliments I got, because obviously if you're Orthodox, you're going to like the book, because I'm taking Orthodoxy and basically deconstructing transhumanism. But if you're not Orthodox, I didn't know how somebody would read it who's not Orthodox, because that's where I'm coming from. And for somebody who certainly is not diving, they're not in the orthosphere, they're not watching the Jay Dyer debates and stuff like that, for them to read it and be like, wow, that is a very interesting, nuanced approach to that conversation, I thought, very supportive. So thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Dr. Vega. And thank you, Dr. Lawrence, for your guys' support and getting all this stuff done. Really appreciate them being there with me through the process. So anyways, with all that said, is your guys' chat working? The live chat? I can see it on StreamYard, but it says something went wrong on YouTube, on my live stream on YouTube. Okay, I see some comments coming in. So it's working for you guys, right? I have to buy it from Amazon since I need it shipped to Canada and then brought to Europe. Missing out on a signed copy, bro. I really need to read the book. Yeah, that's why I did it through Amazon, intentionally. Obviously, we know the problems with Bezos and Amazon as a corporation, but the reason why I went through Amazon was for the distribution. I want people that can read English all over the world that are interested in this topic to get access to it. And unfortunately, the way that I went about it, so publishing it myself through Logos Academic Press, Amazon is just superior. I could go through Lulu, I could go through these other ones, but the distribution, even though maybe they even make better self-published copies, the distribution isn't the same. And so I don't want to be in a position where people in Germany or Sweden or Australia can't get the book because it's just really hard to ship it there. And the only way to get around that was basically just bend the knee to Amazon KDP and do it all through Amazon. So that's what I ended up doing. Christopher Scott throws in 5, no comment. Thank you so much, Christopher. God bless you, brother. Somebody said, am I going to host an open panel? I mean, if somebody wants to come on, I guess they could. Okay, chat's working for you guys. That's weird. It's not working for me on my my YouTube. Huh. Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so I cannot see anything on YouTube. I can just see that I'm live on YouTube. So everything is going to be through StreamYard. But anyways, to get back to what we were talking about with the book, I'll continue forward if you guys like. Again, please, anybody who gets it, especially through Amazon, please go leave a positive Amazon review. That would help the distribution of this book more than anything. If you guys can just leave some positive reviews on Amazon. I was looking online, as I said, I was reading articles and stuff, and they said that is the best way to get your book, to get Amazon to recommend your book to other people, is just to get positive reviews. So right now there's no reviews, no stars. I'll refresh. But if you're waiting to get the book, you want to give a legitimate review. Okay, fair enough. I stand behind my work, and I think that it's going to be worth it. If anybody's interested in joining our men's only academy, please, we'd love to have you over at the Logos Academy. I know that's where I shared everything. Though everybody at the Logos Academy gets first dibs on everything. So I already shared everything with them and been chatting with them. They actually gave me feedback on the cover as well. And I can explain a little bit of the cover if you guys want. Feel free to ask me questions. Austin DeTulio throws in another 5, no comment. Thank you so much, Austin. God bless you, brother. All right. So getting back to the document, well, just say if anybody wants signed copies, again, you can get them through my website with this link right here. I'll just share that one again. And these links are in the video description. For anybody watching this in the future, or if you guys are wondering right now, maybe you're busy, you're not in the chat, all these links that I'm sharing, they're in the video description. So whether you just want to get a paperback through Amazon or you want to get a signed copy through the website, those links are available. So just know that. All right, let's get back to the document. The cover reminds me of the Dark Tower series. Oh, interesting. Well, let me pull up the cover real quick. I can explain why I did what I did, if you guys are interested. So I talked a little bit about it in a previous stream. I don't even remember what stream it was, but I had a buddy from college actually who does like graphic design stuff come up with it. So my idea was I needed something simplistic. I was looking up like how do you create the most ideal book cover, right? And so it needed to be something iconic and simple. That was what the early drafts that I had were way too busy for a book. So I sat down and thought about it, and I thought, well, why don't I just do the Tower of Babel, but a futuristic 2.0, which is what I mentioned in the book. And so that's what this represents. You'll see the blue lights inside the tower, and you can see that the tower has cranes. The tower is being built as we speak, right? The idea that transhumanism, the technocracy, whether it be Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Palantir, Neuralink, Microsoft, it doesn't matter. They're all working in the same direction. And so they are building and constructing this Tower of Babel 2.0 right now because they believe they're going to reach eternity or reach the mastery over creation. The blue lights inside the Tower of Babel represent everybody who's attached to the blue light of the screen, right? So your phone, your TV, your computer screen all has blue light, right? And so the blue light inside the tower represents the people who've essentially spiritually already submitted to the Antichrist spirit and are living in or condoning or supportive of the Tower of Babel being erected. The yellow lights that are outside the Tower of Babel that are the same color as the text are symbolically what it was supposed to represent were the people that were still awake. Maybe they're subjugated. Maybe they are, the remnant of the faithful at the end times, but they're subjugated by the tower. They're subjugated by the Antichrist and his kingdom. However, they have not spiritually extinguished themselves. They have not extinguished the Imago Dei, the image of God within them. They have not capitulated to the full transhumanist agenda. And so their light still shines. That was the idea, and that it being a yellow light versus the false light of the Antichrist, which is the blue light. Not that there's anything wrong with blue. Blue is my favorite color, but you get the idea. It has a false inverted light. It's a mesmerizing light. So you stare into the black mirror where God's light, transcendent light, the Taboric light is white and yellow, and that it has to do with the creation that God made. And so those little yellow dots around here, these are the people that are still awake. Those are the people that are still alive. And so that was my thought process, and my buddy helped me put it together. So shout out to Steve Chase if he's watching this. My buddy Steve, a friend from college, spent 2 trips to China with him. He's the one that helped me put this together. So shout out to Steve, and working on that one night and trying to put all that together. And so, and then the colors, the idea for the colors is I wanted the book to be black. So you see that the book is black. I wanted an image that sort of bled into the black text. So it looked like it all goes together. And so I wanted the whole book to be black in the same gold, Byzantine gold font to be, and it may be a theme for all my books, because I want to write a book on the history of logos. I want to write a book on the history of metaphysics. I want to write a book on masculinity in the 21st century. And so it may be a theme, the font and the color of the text. I'm not sure yet. Still early, but that was the whole thing was inspired by the Logos Academy, because our logo is the Nika cross. It's the, Jesus Christ, Greek initials, and then Nika with just basically a square cross. And I used a dark blue and a gold to represent the sort of Byzantine theme And so I use that same color scheme. So you'll see the first printing, this is a proof. It was a little dark. So for the copies, which I don't even have my own author copy yet, guys, it's still in the mail. This cover should be a bit brighter. It should look more like the image you're seeing here as opposed to this. Just because once it got printed, I could see, okay, yeah, it looks good, but it's a little dark. So that was the point behind the book cover. Mud says, fine, I'll buy your morbidly obese, overbloated, shingles covered book. There had better be in a depth, colorful pictures. I guess I wasn't talking ish. Yeah, unfortunately, Mud, there are no pictures in this one. So we'll move back over to the actual PDF. And oh crap. If you hit the table of contents, it'll take you directly to whatever you click on. So anyways, what are you guys' comments? What are your thoughts? Oh, Chase Haggard. A shout out to my buddy Chase. God bless you, brother. He says, happy birthday, brother. Can't wait to buy and read your book. Well, thank you so much, Chase. God bless you, bro. Hope you and the wife are doing well. Actually, I was thinking about you the other day and hoping you're doing well, man. Hopefully you've recovered from the basement flood. Sorry to hear about that, but always have you in my thoughts and prayers, man. God bless you and the wife. PhD and published author. Yeah. So, and I did publish it myself. So if somebody, obviously when you write an academic text, most people would try to go through a university press. However, because of my business model, because I'm not trying to be part of the university, I'm trying to be a bridge from essentially academia to the public. I instead of having a classroom of 30 kids, I want a classroom online of as many adults as possible. So because of my business model, my thought process was, if I wanted to maximize control over my work, the best thing to do is just to self-publish. And if it's successful and if people like it, if there is, an Orthodox publisher that wants to reprint a new edition and an edition tied with their press, I'd absolutely be open to that. If even a university press reached out in the future, I'd be open to that. But I instead of giving away the ability to make reprints. So the nice thing about Amazon is, one, I'm in total control of the document. I own it. It's my copyright. Nobody can take it from me, and nobody can tell me that they're not reprinting my book because I only got so many X sales in a certain amount of time. Amazon prints on demand, so they can print it for me. So I'm open to eventually doing a more professional press. For this, I basically created my own press, the Logos Academic Press, in conjunction with Logos Academy. And that being the platform in which I want to basically publish my other books. They'll be through Logos Academic Press. That's the idea. So anyways, Heidi throws in $20 over on Dono Chat and says, for pizza and beer, many years. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. God bless you. Really appreciate that support. Let's see. What are your guys' thoughts? Logos Academic Press. Nice. I'll send my manuscript. Yeah. I'm open to publishing other people's stuff in the future. I mean, essentially it's going to be like an Orthodox academic press. That's the idea. Cole says, I burned my 30 Amazon Prime trial to order my copy. It says the book will arrive on Saturday. Can't wait to read. Well, thank you so much, Cole. God bless you, bro. And and Chase has got a new song dropping. New song dropping tomorrow, Crispy. Awesome, Chase. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Bat says, yeah, you don't need kids with pajama pants, slides, and socks and headphones on as your students. Well, there is something cool about having people in like an actual classroom that you can interact with each other. There is something to be said for that. the energy, the conversation, the amount of learning that can actually happen face to face. But with the way that the academy is and the way that universities are, unless you're at a really good private Christian school, like FDA's at a really good Carroll College. Shout out to Carroll College in Helena, Montana. He's at an institution in which other people have his back. That I think is really cool. And that would be one of my dreams in the future, would actually for there to be an Orthodox university, or maybe just an Orthodox college. Colleges have undergraduate degrees. Universities have graduate degrees. So if you didn't know, but if there was an Orthodox college, like where it's explicitly Orthodox, I would love to have, students face to face. But just given where we're at, and given where academia and higher education is at, it's all moving towards online. I mean, this is what the Peterson Academy is about. That's why I created the Logos Academy. Is I feel like for the next, if it ever gets corrected in the academy, which is probably unlikely, at least for the near future, I think most people are going to build their sort of intellectual formation online. And I could always create courses on like the history of Western esotericism, or the history of Western magic, or the history of Orthodox theology. And I can get accredited through the accreditation system, pay for it. And then I can offer those courses through my website, so that a student from the University of Texas, University of Hawaii, or University of Indiana University, that they could actually sign up for my class as an elective that transfers to all major universities. And I could offer courses to teach that no universities offer, that they're just totally unique. And then people that are going to college who are aware of my stuff or interested in those topics, they can actually take my classes as an elective for their university credits and earning their degrees. So I've talked with FDA about this, and I think this is kind of where I think that a lot of the education sphere is going to be moving towards. What happened to St. Catherine's in San Diego? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. St. Athanasius Academy offers Orthodox and undergrad. Offers it is online. Cool. Absolutely. I know there's some out there. It's been growing. There's some in Texas. I talked with my priest about it, and he knows a lot of the priests that are involved in some of these things. So I may teach an online course through them in the future. But right now, I got so many ideas on books. I got so many streams that I want to do. I got so many classes in the Logos Academy that I want to build out, that I feel like I got so much work to focus on with just my business for the next 2 to 3 years, that it almost feels like getting situated into any sort of institutional setting is going to have to be in a few years, just because I'm so excited for the future. I'm so excited to just build out my own stuff online. Where can I read your book? Amazon. So you can put my name on Amazon, or Return to Babylon from Adam to Antichrist. That's the name of the book. And the book will pop up. You can even just Google search it, or just search online. The Amazon link should pop up. Or if you want a signed copy, you can go to my website and purchase a signed copy. So here's the link for a signed copy. Here is the link for Amazon. And so it comes in hardback, paperback, and Kindle ebook on Amazon. But all signed copies are hardback, because to me, it's just the superior version of it. So, so if that's something you like, please sign up. I'm anxious to see, because Amazon KDP takes like 24 to 48 hours to update. So I have no idea who or how many people have actually purchased my book today. And I won't be able to tell probably for about a day or two. I have seen people have already purchased through my website, which I'm so grateful for. So anybody purchasing through the website, again, I'm getting my 35 copies this weekend. And everybody who purchases this week, I'm going to try to sign all those and get those out in the mail next week. If you happen to purchase after those 35, it's probably going to take me another week to get an order shipped. And then that following week, I'll get them all sent out. So just FYI for anybody who is purchasing. AJ says, happy birthday, Patrick. Today is also my son's birthday. Well, happy birthday to him. Once I get paid, I'll get a signed copy. Super excited. Well, thank you so much, AJ. Really appreciate that. God bless. So anyways, what I was saying about this book. So I kind of outlined what happens in chapter 1, right? Chapter 2 is a 100-page, 103-page in-depth overview, steel manning what transhumanism is and demonstrating that it's a religion without revelation. And I'm drawing the phrase religion without revelation from a 1927 work by Julian Huxley, in which he talks about or the religion of the future is a religion without revelation. It's going to be a scientifically based faith. It's going to, he was a big eugenicist. So he believed in like genetic manipulation and perfecting the human race from the early 20th centuries. I mean, one of the taints that transhumanists try to disassociate themselves with is the fact that they are tied with the history of eugenics, because many transhumanists who are actually foundational in building the transhumanist movement are some way tied, at least in the early days, with eugenics. And Julian Huxley is no different, younger brother of Aldous Huxley. So I take his phrase, religion without revelation, and I connect that with a book that he wrote in the 1950s called New Wine or New Skins for New Wine. And in that book, in chapter 1, it's the first time anybody uses the phrase transhumanism in regards to what transhumanism today represents. Like people have used variations of the concept, but they're usually in some spiritual term. It was never about, technological transformation, merging with machine stuff. But Julian Huxley is the first person who actually outlines and explicitly states or utilizes the phrase transhumanism. So I give him credit. And that's what the origins of transhumanism section is about, that section A of chapter 2. And then extropianism and praise of the devil, that is me then laying out what modern transhumanist philosophy. So arguably the two, I would say probably the two biggest names or most popular names regarding the academic side of transhumanism is probably Nick Bostrom and Max More. And so Max More, you could arguably say, was more foundational in giving transhumanism a sort of academic footing. You could probably say Nick Bostrom's a little bit more important now but anyways, both of them very important. Both of them still alive. That Max More developed this philosophy called extropianism. And so entropy is like the diminishment, right? So extropy is fighting against it. And that's what it's extropian. It's a metaphor about a willful existential resistance to entropy by means of human rationality and technological ingenuity. So I lay out, and he has this article titled In Praise of the Devil, where he talks about how Lucifer, Satan, and the devil is like the ideal archetype for transhuman rebellion against the confines of these antiquated Christian worldviews and this idea of submitting to God and all this stuff. So he claims he doesn't believe in the devil at an ontological level, but he thinks it's a useful metaphor that transhumanists should adopt. And so then I lay out the epistemology, the metaphysics, and the ethics of transhumanism. And then I demonstrate that in our post-secular moment, it does, in fact, function as religion. And therefore, I can then compare transhumanism to orthodoxy as its own religious narrative. And so then I get into, if it is a religion, what does the religion say? And so then I get into visions of a post-human future. What does transhumanism view the future of humanity looking like? And then the next section is transhumanism, a religion. Then I demonstrate all these groups that are explicitly religious. Like Martine Rothblatt, who the founder of XM Radio, who's a transgender woman. It's actually a man who's transitioned to a woman. She has like the Terrasim community where they all are like religiously oriented transhumanists. And they actually, and I even highlight that there was an article, I think it was from Rolling Stones, where they went to their headquarters and they had like pictures of Ray Kurzweil and Hans Moravec and these people that are sort of important to transhumanism as like they're sort of saints of this faith, if not. So I demonstrate that not only can transhumanism be viewed as a religion, these are the groups that are explicitly religious as transhumanists. And then I get into their belief in the emergence of an AI God, the immaculate conception, these what is referred to as post-genderism. And so this modern post-genderist worldview is about doing it's basically the LGBTQ stuff. It's the trans community that wants to redefine man and woman. They want to do away with biological birth. They want to make sex purely about pleasure, and that actual conception is done in a laboratory so that it can be controlled and that the genes can be selected so that we essentially, again, a la eugenics, right? So the ugly head of eugenics begins to rise itself again, even amongst the modern transhumanists who are totally trying to disassociate themselves with that history. But in the post-genderist work that I read, they explicitly talk about basically physical biological sex will be purely for pleasure. And then actual instances of copulation that leads, that have fecundity to them, that actually create children, those will be done in a laboratory by basically taking a woman's eggs and taking a man's sperm, and they're just going to, fertilize the egg right there in the lab. So we don't even need you guys to do sex. And they're explicit about that. So that's where I talk about the immaculate conception, nanotechnology, and being born from technology. Again, a sort of play on the immaculate conception there. And then natural magic and Gnostic illumination. I demonstrate the historical spiritual connections of this transhuman religion to natural magic and Gnosticism. And then I talk about the techno-apocalypse and the existential risk that even transhumanists talk about regarding their own eschatology and the singularity or the awakening of the AI, becoming fully conscious and all this different stuff. Bonus word, fecundity. So, so anyways, that's what chapter 2 is about, essentially laying out the transhumanist worldview and what it is. And then chapter 3 is called Theosis, the ladder of divine ascent. And here, and this is kind of difficult. It was difficult for me because how do you introduce orthodoxy in its paradigm to non-Orthodox people? Because there's so much jargon we use, when we're talking about uncreated energies and a mystical theology. Typically, if you're Orthodox, you already know what that means. It's easier to unpack those concepts. But assuming you're writing to someone secular, how do you demonstrate the actual importance of a Christian worldview? And so this chapter begins with an introduction where I basically delineate what Orthodox theology is and why it's not Catholic or Protestant. And basically, the introduction is me laying out what the chapter is about and then demonstrating how it's not the same thing as Catholicism. Our presuppositions and our paradigm, though there's similarities, it's not the same thing. That Orthodoxy in its disposition towards deification as a central node in its theological framework, that it maintains the energy essence distinction in this doctrine of theosis, that yes, Catholicism or Methodist Christianity, Methodist Protestantism would talk about sanctification, but it's a different paradigm, and the process of that taking place doesn't actually fit within their worldview to the same extent that it does for us Orthodox. So I kind of lay out this briefly that, look, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about Eastern Orthodoxy. We're talking about a pre-modern Christianity that was not influenced by the Renaissance. Because if you understand our historical timeline, by 1453, the sacking of Constantinople by the Ottoman Turks, that is right in the heart of the Florentine Renaissance, right? That's how we get the Hermetic Corpus. That's how we get Plato into Latin. It's because these manuscripts are flowing out of Constantinople into Western Europe in the preservation of those documents, because the Turks are going to destroy them. And so this is where we get the Council of Florence, the false council that got rejected by Orthodox laity. Shout out to St. Mark. And then this is where we see a new understanding, essentially Renaissance humanism begins to emerge during this period. Now, because Orthodox Constantinople was sacked, many Orthodox were under Ottoman oppression after that point forward, or they were in their own historical difficulties, say in Serbia, Romania. I mean, we've talked about different saints. We talked about Saint Stephen of Moldavia. We talked about Count Dracula, Vlad Dracula of Romania, or then, Wallachia. Anyways, my point, or Russia at that point, is that they were isolated from Western Europe. And so the intellectual developments of Orthodoxy compared to Catholicism, any form of Catholicism, and compared to Protestantism, were not influenced by the Renaissance, certainly not the scientific, certainly not then the Protestant Reformation, then the scientific revolution, then the Enlightenment, to the same degree that Western Christianity was. Therefore, Orthodoxy is the perfect critique to transhumanism because, one, it is focused on deification, and two, it's the only form, maybe you could say Oriental, but you could, and even I had a professor agree that Orthodoxy is more pre-modern than Catholicism, even though maybe you can find aspects of pre-modernity in Catholicism due to Vatican I, Vatican II, all this different stuff. They are now in a novel situation where they've been progressing and developing doctrines. So even the Catholic recognize that, yeah, Orthodoxy is more pre-modern. So only Orthodoxy is explicitly Christian and focused on deification, is pre-modern, and was not tainted by Western presuppositions that transhumanism emerges from. And therefore, transhumanism, which emerges from Western Christian thought that I outlined in chapter 1, it then needs the necessary critique of Orthodoxy because it's the only thing that can give it a counterbalance due to the historical trajectory of ideas and influences. And so I lay that out in the introduction, and then we get into what is the energy essence distinction. I talk about personhood and participation and why this is different than, why it's novel in Orthodoxy, why it's different than Western Christianity. Then I get into logos theology, the logi, the logismi, all these different things I lay out in section B. And then I am explicit about the epistemology, the metaphysics, and the ethics. And so our epistemology is revelatory, right? So we've had knowledge been revealed. And then because of our relationship to the Creator, we do have true knowledge of the exterior world, right? So therefore, we don't nullify, science or engineering or anything like that. Our metaphysics is traditionally Christian, or it's really what I've laid out in the energy essence distinction and logos theology. I laid out what our metaphysics is. It's this logos-oriented metaphysics. And then I highlight how we have a therapeutic ethic. So our ethics are all about a healing of the soul through the sacraments of the church itself. And that's what it means to be ethical. And what it means to be ethical and virtuous is actually a therapeutic process of transformation of the person. There is no concept of a virtuous person who is just always at the same virtue, or just always virtuous despite some type of process or transformation, because we believe if you're enacting and embodying these uncreated energies, you're literally transforming oneself. And so that's what chapter 3 is about. And then chapter 4 is transfiguration, God manhood versus man godhood. And what I'm doing is transfiguration is about what? It was about Christ revealing his divinity on Mount Tabor. And so our deification model of transfiguration is about man becoming like God-man. And so that means it's us following the God-man. It's not our existential definition or creation of what divinity is. It's Jesus Christ as the standard of divinity. And then we are following him, participating in that deific process known as theosis. And whereas transhumanism is a man godhood, it's about man attaining a status of God without God being present. God does not exist in their paradigm. God will exist through the technology, through the AI, and then they will become God because they'll be fused with it, and there will be very little ontological distinction between the AI God and who these people think they're going to be in the future, because essentially it's just a continuation of the same process. So I lay out and define these two terms, God manhood versus man godhood. And those are not created by me, actually. Brandon Gallagher, who he might be an Orthodox priest. Somebody in the chat said he's an Orthodox priest, but he's got a philosophical article on transhumanism in one of the books that was actually edited by Ted Peters, who was an instructor at the university that I just got my doctoral degree from. Anyways, Brendan Gallagher may be a priest. Somebody said he's a priest. I'm not sure, but he is a PhD in philosophy. And so he utilizes Sergei Bokakov's distinction between God manhood and man godhood. Now, Bokakov has some heretical, like he believed in like sophiology and stuff. So, he's not often a theologian that a lot of Orthodox clergy appeal to, because he had some heretical beliefs. But to give him credit, he was very good in regards to what he defined as God manhood, Orthodox theosis, and man godhood, any sort of existential pursuit towards divinity, especially coming out of a secular worldview. And so he had a lot of critiques of Nietzsche and different Western thinkers. Bulgakov is mid 20th century. He's actually an Orthodox Christian from Russia that ends up fleeing to Paris, which a lot of people did at the time. So Bulgakov, I use his distinction there between God manhood and man godhood, and then I lay out paths to divinity. What again? Man godhood versus God, or God manhood versus man godhood. Then immortal existence, and I define and demonstrate how the existence, the center of one's personal autonomy and personhood, from the transhumanist perspective, is their mind. Now, they don't actually even believe in mind. They believe that it's an epiphenomenal process of brain connection, that circuitry in an electronic digital device will have the same epiphenomenal happenings where a sort of mind, a sentient mind will emerge. This is the theory that they have based on their philosophy of mind. And so they believe that that through the creating digital interconnections, like the way a brain works, will then produce the epiphenomenal result of a mind, which then once the AI gets that, the idea is it'll be self-conscious and aware like we are. Obviously, that's a faulty definition. And so I lay out, one, how that definition doesn't even work within the philosophy of mind and is still a minority opinion. But I also then highlight how orthodoxy centers it around the soul. And I talk about the nous, and I talk about the noetic realities. And I distinguish between a worldview that venerates mind versus a worldview that venerates the soul, because our veneration of the soul includes then a veneration of the body, where the transhumanists, by definition of trying to escape the biological limitations of humanity, they are trying to leave the body behind. And in that sense, it's very Gnostic. And in that sense, it's very satanic and demonic, because this is why we don't cremate ourselves as we're Orthodox Christian. Your body is divine. Your body is special, and it's going to be restored to you in a perfect state in the resurrection. So that's why you bury things of treasure. You burn trash. You look at East Asia, and yeah, they had a lot of people. So it makes sense maybe why cremation became a modern, a popular process to dispose of dead bodies. But we Christians believe that the body is special. And so you bury treasure, and our body is a treasure. That's why we bury ourselves. And so the chapter or subsection B in chapter 4 then lays out this delineation between a veneration of mind and a veneration of soul. And then it gets into metaphysics and demonstrates the difference between henosis and theosis. And this gets into henosis. Oh, shout out to Jay Dyer. God bless you, brother. He said, sounds like a great text. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you stopping in and saying that. God bless you, bro. Hope you and Jamie are doing well. Looking forward to Florida, bro. In fact, I was going to reach out to you like this week to see what you were going to be speaking about at the conference, so I can come up with a topic. But maybe I'll do something from the book, since I was going to bring some copies with me in case people. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. He said he shared it on X. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man. Jay's been so good to me. God bless you, Jay. I really appreciate your friendship, man. I've said that before, but legit, bro, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Jay. God bless you and your wife, man. So finishing up here. So the metaphysics, then I demonstrate henosis is the Neoplatonic concept where everything becomes united to the one, and that this is sort of the final endpoint, and that their worldview is all about a refocusing. Obviously, Neoplatonism is monistic in its presupposition. So I highlight that transhumanism is a sort of material henosis, because everything's going to be materially connected back to the AI in one way or another. So I highlight that their metaphysics are very different. Transhumanist metaphysics privileges unity over multiplicity. And in fact, even in the multiple people that may be hooked up with the machine, they're in a way becoming the same person. Whereas theosis is that both and theology, as we've always talked about. And then the post-secular moment, and I get into then why these two worldviews are in competition right now. Why is Orthodox theosis in competition with transhumanism? Maybe it sounds counterintuitive to people. Well, the reason is because of what's referred to as the meaning crisis, right? You've heard, Peterson, Paggio, Vervaeke, you've heard these guys talk about the meaning crisis over and over and over and over again, right? Well, it's a real thing. And it's tied with this post-secular, postmodern turn in academia, in the world, where people are basically subjective units that are creating their own meaning. And so because of that, I highlight that in our particular moment right now, the pre-modern worldview of orthodoxy is it is appealing to young men. It is appealing to a return to something that is continuous and has a foundation to it. And then transhumanism is appealing due to the mythology and the cultural influence through Hollywood, comic books, science fiction, all that different stuff. And that in the search for meaning, people going to choose, do I choose the fulfillment of modernity, which is transhumanism, or do I choose the opt out of the modernist project, which is what orthodoxy is? Because orthodoxy is pre-modern. And that's why I highlight it's not the same thing as Catholicism or Protestantism, which are already influenced of Renaissance and all the modernist thinking from that point forward. So the only options to escape modernity in the Western world is either you just choose to fulfill it into post-humanity through transhumanism, or you got to opt out into a pre-modern worldview. And so I highlight that during the meaning crisis, that's what's happening here. And so as this war is going on, or this sort of mimetic battle between what is most appealing to people's mind, transhumanism or a traditional understanding of Christian deification, we are experiencing a return to Babylon from Adam to Antichrist from the Orthodox perspective, because I highlight what I just demonstrated in chapter 1. All these major figures, John Scotus Regina, Hugh of St. Victor, Roger Bacon, Francis Bacon, the Rosicrucians, all the major esoteric thinkers believed that technology was going to restore us back to Adamic perfection, Adam before the fall. Now, we as Orthodox are going to Christ, and we believe that Christ is the second Adam. So in Orthodoxy, there is no place in it in which we are venerating Adam as the teleological endpoint of us. That's not present. What we believe is that Christ is the teleological endpoint of everybody who follows him. That's who we're trying to become like. That's who we're trying to unite with. And so this battle from Adam to Antichrist, what I demonstrate in this last section, section E in chapter 4, is that from the Orthodox paradigm. And so I pull from all these clergy, I pull from metropolitans. I have a quote from Patriarch Kirill in Russia. I pull from all these different Orthodox thinkers and saints talking about how the utilization of technology for, deification or these totalizing narratives that they put forth is a modern Tower of Babel 2.0, a return to Babylon, and it's setting the stage for Antichrist. And so I end by demonstrating that these two things that I've meticulously laid out, orthodoxy and transhumanism, are actually diametrical inversions of each other. And while transhumanism is pursuing its own goals and acting as if, Orthodox theosis is the same thing that we're doing, from a Orthodox perspective, this is actually contributing to the ending of the world from our eschatological perspective. It's contributing to control. It's contributing to the loss of submission to God. It's contributing to, the big brother technocracy in which everybody's going to be linked up and connected and manipulated. And so then that is the last point. And so the conclusion is the battle ensues. Which way will Western civilization choose? Will Western civilization see a return to orthodoxy, as I highlight in the very introduction of the entire book, that we're already seeing that orthodoxy is one of the fastest growing again, I hate using this, but denominations of Christianity. I don't think we're a denomination, but you get my point, trying to articulate it. And so we're one of the fastest growing in the Western world. We're seeing unprecedented growth in Germany, in England, and Ireland. I don't know about France, but definitely America. And I'm hearing good things in Canada, but I really don't know how big the numbers are in Canada. But I can say for a fact, Germany is definitely experiencing an Orthodox revival. Many people are converting to Orthodoxy. America definitely is. I know Ireland is. I've talked with people who are Orthodox in Ireland saying that their churches are packed with Roman Catholics converting. And I've heard that in England, many Anglicans are converting to Orthodoxy. So using that as a standard, we can see that people, whether conscious or not, are responding to the meaning crisis and the post-secular, postmodern point of our culture, or late modernity, however you want to describe it, by either opting into something pre-modern like Orthodoxy, which again, they're doing at a subconscious level, not like people are choosing, I need a pre-modern worldview, but that's what is appealing about it. It's a return back to monarchy. It's a return back to tradition. It's a return back to patriarchy. It's a return back to specific roles for people, right? This modernity, it's a return back to mysticism. It's a return back to God, essentially, before the Enlightenment rationalism has essentially undermined the roots of Western civilization. And so that is happening. And at the same time, we see Trump signing Project Stargate with Larry Ellison. We see and Sam Altman of OpenAI. We see Elon Musk, Neuralink. We see Peter Thiel and Palantir. We see on all these people are tied with the Trump administration. So the whole point here is this is a real, in a sense, a mimetic battle between the hearts and minds of Western civilization. And these are the defining arguments between deification, right? It's transhumanist deification, or it's a return to orthodoxy. And that's the whole point of the book then, and highlighting that transhumanism is the trajectory. Transhumanism is the plan for the institutions. And transhumanism from an Orthodox perspective is a return to Babylon. And its narrative is built from Adam to Antichrist, you see, based on the premise of the book. So that is the idea of the book. And it goes into very much detail concerning all that stuff. And, now that in the Palantir stuff of Peter Thiel, maybe I need to add something like that into the introduction, because by the time I wrote the dissertation, this was in April, even though we knew about Palantir and Peter Thiel, it just wasn't as a popular, it wasn't as popular to talk about as is right now in America. So I make mention of Palantir and Peter Thiel in the book, but I maybe should add a little something to be more explicit about that. BLA throws in 5. Shout out to guys. Go get runes. As I said, shout out, give a congratulations to BLA, guys. His book of poetry is number 1 in his category. Number 1 in his category. Give BLA some love, guys. That is incredible. He says, congratulations, Dr. DPH. I'm sending you a signed author copy of my book. Recommend everyone get a copy of your book right now. Love you, amigo. I love you, BLA. And I'm going to do the same thing. I will set aside one of my copies, and I'm going to sign it and send it to you as well, brother. So don't buy one. I'm going to send you one, BLA. So God bless you, bro. Really, really appreciate your friendship as well, man. God bless you. And thank you for the support. Elite Beaver throws in 5, says transhumanism is so cowardly. Theosis is hard work and the truth. Congrats on the book. Well, thank you very much, Elite Beaver. I second that notion as well. I think that is also true. Jacob throws in 4. Oh my gosh, yes. I got another thing to show you guys too before we hop off here. Did you guys know I got a new official Clips channel? Yes. So people have been asking me forever, dude, you need to create a Clips channel. You need to create just a dedicated Clips channel. And so I am working with actually a buddy from the Logos Academy. And we just created one. So if you go over to YouTube, put in Dr. DPH Clips. Dr. DPH Clips is the name of the YouTube channel. You'll see this is the first video that was just posted. We got 57 views. Go give it a subscribe, smash the like. We're going to get tons and tons of content right here. So we're going to try to post like at least 2 to 3 clips of my streams, or at least the most interesting points on here. So if you want, bite-sized stuff, because my streams are long. I mean, today's stream is going to be one of my shorter streams. It's still 2 hours. It's a problem I have. I need to go to therapy. I just keep going. It's like they're like 3 and 4 hours long. It's too much. And I know that. And I know for you got hardcore people out there, like you enjoy the long form, you enjoy the in-depth. But I've had so many people be like, bro, I got children, I got a job. You need to create a clips channel. So we do have the official clips channel of Dr. David Patrick Harry, of Church of the Eternal Logos, of the Logos Academy. So members only content, or even maybe private Q&As, clips from that stuff will all be posted over here on this new channel. So we got 18 subscribers. So if you guys can, go over to Dr. DPH Clips. I'm going to share that link with you guys right here. Go over to Dr. DPH Clips and give us a subscribe. I'd be very, very appreciative. This is, as I said, our new official clips channel. So we got 18. Let's see if anybody just went and subscribed. We got 26. Awesome. So if you guys, you're going to see a lot more content coming out of there. And right now, my life is super crazy. And my wife and I are trying to get approved on a house. We don't know if that's going to get through or not. God willing, it does. So, once I get to my new place, which could be as early as next week or maybe in months, we have no idea. But if we do get it approved in the near future, I'm going to put off putting out content on my old YouTube channel. I'm going to take down all the content on that old YouTube channel, Dr. David Patrick Harry. It's got like 74,000 subs. And I'm going to start putting out new types of content that you're not going to see on Church of the Eternal Logos. Basically, kind of like what the Daily Wire does, where I play videos of the latest things happening in culture and giving some commentary on it. So they're going to be like 10 to 20, no more than 30-minute long videos. The goal is to keep them short and bite-sized and not to be clips, be their own single uploaded video. So anyway, so that's the idea there. Okay. Jay's going to be live after me. So I'm going to, nice. And he's going to be talking about on ISIS and, the bad guys of the Middle East, little Al-Qaeda and stuff like that. So I will raid you, Jay, because I got to hop off here soon. In fact, I need to hop off here right now because my friends, we're getting ready to go have beer and pizza. So I'm pretty stoked about that. But Jacob, my friend who's helping me with the Clips channel, he said, go check out Dr. DPH Clips. Happy birthday, DPH, many years. Well, thank you so much, brother. Again, go support our new Clips channel, Dr. DPH Clips. This is the official Clips channel for all my work. And I'm really excited to see where this goes in the next 6 months. We're going to be putting out tons and tons of videos. So it should be a lot of good stuff over there. And again, don't forget, if you guys want to support my work, join our Logos Academy, our men's only community where, again, we just did a thing diving into Arthur Schopenhauer and John Chrysostom's approach to women, stuff like that. So we were doing deep dives on anything and everything. In fact, one person we were talking about, shout out to Jonathan Newby. We were talking about maybe next time reading In Praise of the Devil, which is a academic 2-page article that Max Moore, the transhumanist philosopher, wrote for an atheistic journal. But that's kind of what we do, is we get little bite-sized readings, articles, pieces of books or whatever, and then we get together and we talk about them. We do all types of stuff over there. So if you'd like to join our community, please do so. Just check out Logos Academy over at school.com, and that is where that community is. Again, if anybody wants signed copies, you can do so over at my website, right here with this link. And if you want to get paperback, hardback, or Kindle ebook, those are available over here on Amazon. Also, if anybody's interested in setting up a one-on-one session, you can do so with this link right here. And if anybody is interested in Alps, if you're looking for the best nicotine pouches on the market, use my affiliate link. It should be in the video description. Let me pull that up real quick. And you can get a discount on the best nicotine pouches. I think in the world, at least the ones that I've tried, maybe not in the world. I haven't tried all of them in the world, but in the US, and they're made right in Louisville, Kentucky, so pretty close to me. Check out Alp. Use that to get some nicotine pouches if you guys are interested. I just got a new peptide affiliate sponsor. I'm going to be doing a stream with Dr. Mo. We'll be going all over peptides. I'll be sharing. Shout out to FDA. He says, "Oh no, here I am to argue with." Shout out to FDA. We talked about the purity spiraling I get whenever I bring up nicotine pouches, and we'll see how people purity spiral when I bring up peptides to help you recover and build more muscle. Yeah, it's an inside joke. It's an inside joke. Did I miss the opportunity to join for $25 a month? Yeah, brother. That was the first week the Logos Academy was open. I may do a special in the future, but right now it's $35. And once I get more of my courses up there, it's going to go up in price again. So, unfortunately, Banana Bread, that's the price right now. I may do a special in the future, but it's just $10 more. It's $35 a month. But we do tons of stuff in there. Very active community. So if that's something you'd like to be a part of, a men's only community that's Orthodox and is getting into deep conversation about anything of importance, please join. Would love you guys to be there. Also, if anybody wants to sponsor a stream, you can sponsor a stream with this link. If you guys want to, again, the signed copies, you can just click on shop. Return to Babylon from Adam the Antichrist is the first one. And then if you guys want to sponsor a stream, we got a couple stream sponsors that sponsorships that I'm going to get done here soon. But I got a handful of topics I also personally want to do. So I'll be doing those as well. But you can sponsor a stream with that link right there. Let me see if anybody sent anything in I didn't cover. Elite Beaver throws another $2. Says streams too short, longer, please. Normally people say the opposite. They say I stream too long. I need to be more concise. I feel like I'm pretty concise and stay on point most of the time. But people still wish that I would make shorter streams. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little bit verbose, too loquacious. Pierre throws in 5. Says, Kong Ratulationson. Oh, congratulations on your book. I see. Congratulations on your book, Dave. Well, thank you very much, Pierre. I'm currently communing at a Baptist church, but plan to transition to Orthodoxy and join the Logos Academy. Well, Pierre, we'd love to have you, brother. Logos Academy is a great place for a bunch of Orthodox men from, all different walks of life. So we would love to have you, and we can help you and walk you through the process. Orthodoxy is a journey, and, converting is going to take over a year through the catechism. But what we do and some of the content we make will certainly help reinforce your catechism and your understanding of everything. So, so please check out the Orthodox church closest to you, man. Join the Logos Academy. And if you're interested in some good reading, do check out the book. Would appreciate that. So let me just double check. I don't want to miss anybody today. Then I'll get you guys over to Dyer. Loquacious is such a good word, but it sounds like it's describing. Sounds like it's describing a sassy black woman. That's funny. It didn't. That wasn't in my head, but now that you say that, I can certainly make it a mental picture. Thank you very much. Rationally Irritable says, proud of your work, bro. Well, thank you very much, man. I hope that it's I hope that it's useful for people, and I hope that people get something good out of it. Dell says, I'll purchase it soon, brother. Well, thank you very much, man. Shepard, signed copy order. I can't wait to see how many people purchase some signed copies. So anyways, guys, that looks like, let me just double check, make sure I didn't miss anyone. Okay. D Bailey throws in 5. D Bailey 24 throws in 5 on Streamlabs and says, happy birthday and many years, Patrick. Well, thank you so much, D Bailey. Can you comment a bit on the Orthodox view of natural theology? I think it is mostly rejected, but wondering how it fits within our worldview. Cheers. Well, if you're looking for an academic work on that, I would absolutely recommend this one right here. It's called Natural Theology in the Eastern Orthodox Tradition by Dr. David Bradshaw. So David Bradshaw is, I actually quote this book in my book. And so we don't reject natural theology. The problem is the beginning with natural theology from a sort of apologetic and theological system. So we begin with revelation. We begin with an experience, a mysticism. That doesn't mean that we can't have natural knowledge of the external world. We would say, yeah, of course you can. We would say the problem with scholasticism, which then becomes philosophy and then, higher education, the university system, is that it relies too much on our rational faculties as a way in which we come to know God. So if we only come to know God through a rational apprehension of natural processes that we can observe, that does not include space for the mystical encounter, which we believe you can gain knowledge from, you can commune with God, you unite with him in a spiritual mystery. So natural theology, we have a place for natural theology, but it's shrouded in all of these presuppositions first and foremost. We would argue that scholasticism in its historical trajectory basically set the foundation because of its Aristotelian presuppositions. It sets the foundation for a sort of over reliance on logic and rational argumentation and logical and rational apprehension of the world as the basis, as a defense and articulation of faith. So we would say there's something useful there, but that is not the central thrust on how we then go about defining and articulating our theological worldview. So this book, he gives credence. He demonstrates how we would understand natural theology from an Orthodox perspective, which is going to be different from a sort of Western, especially a scholastic approach to the topic. So that would be the book that I would recommend if that is a topic you want to dive deeper into. So, yeah. Big Beautiful Bill Hicks throws in 5. Thank you so much. Big Beautiful Bill Hicks says, happy birthday, David Patrick Carey, many years. Well, thank you so much, man. God bless you and the family. Really appreciate the birthday wishes from everybody in the chat. Thank you all so much for the birthday wishes and being here, and especially anybody who purchased the book. I'm so excited about it. I'm excited for people to read it. Only as of right now, so anybody who's bought it, only, let's see, the 3 people on my dissertation committee, myself, BLA, and the Eschaton Vigil, and Jose, Jose from the open panels, Jose, those are the only, so 7 people have actually read this work. Those are the only 7 people. So when you guys read it, I do not know how most people will take it or how people will approach the text, but I'm excited to get feedback from everybody and see what you guys think. So, all right, guys. Well, let me see if I can get you guys to go raid Dyer. Again, smash that like. Thank you all so much for the birthday wishes and being here today. Redirect. Let's go, Jay Dyer. All right. Okay, guys. God bless you all. Please go get Return to Babylon from Adam to Antichrist on Amazon or through my website. And guys, please, if I could just request, please go give a review and leave a comment on Amazon so that the book will get pushed to the top of its categories and I can get exposure to people that don't follow this YouTube channel, but other people can get access. So please, guys, If you purchase from Amazon, you have an Amazon account, please give me a positive review. It would be so beneficial to the exposure of the book and getting into the Amazon algorithm. So, anyways, with that, guys, I don't have much left. God bless you all. Thank you all so much for the support. And I will see you guys later this week. As always, until next time, God bless.